Hi, today we're going to learn about another important person that is from our civil rights movement. Yesterday we learned about Martin Luther King Jr. and this person was mentioned in his biography, and so now we're going to learn about Rosa Parks. And Rosa Parks was another important person during this movement. So Rosa Parks' Bus Ride to Freedom by Pamela, Chanko. Rosa Parks grew up in a time when African Americans were treated unfairly. But then Rosa changed history. She stood up for her civil rights, and she did it by sitting down. This is her story. Many people call Rosa Parks the mother of the civil rights movement. Rosa was born in Alabama in 1913. At that time, there were laws in the South to segregate African Americans from white people. This meant that they could not go to the same places, such as restaurants and waiting rooms. African Americans were called colored because of the color of their skin. Signs told them where they could and could not go. And so here is the sign that says colored waiting rooms. So they had to go in there. African American children could not go to the same schools as white children. Rosa's school was for African Americans. It had just one room. It was open only 5 months a year. More than 50 students crowded into Rosa's schoolroom each day. So that's a lot of kids in one classroom. Rosa knew that these laws were unfair. In 1931, she met a man named Raymond Parks. He belonged to a group that was working to change the laws. Rosa and Raymond got married. Rosa joined the group too. Rosa and Raymond worked with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is also called the NAACP for short. Rosa worked at a store in Montgomery, Alabama. Every day she rode the bus to work. There were unfair laws on the bus too. The white section was at the front of the bus. The African American section was at the back. On the bus, African Americans had to follow certain rules that white people did not. Oops. December 1st, 1955 started like any other day. Rosa went to work at the store. After work, she got on the bus to go home. She paid for the ride and sat down in the middle row of seats. African Americans could ride in the middle of the bus, but they had to move if white people needed the seats. After a few stops, more white people got on the bus. Soon, the white section was full. The bus driver asked Rosa to get up and move to the back. Even if only one white person needed a seat, all the African Americans in the row had to move. Rosa said no. The bus driver said, "I'm going to have you arrested." But Rosa still would not stand up. The police came and took Rosa to jail. People thought Rosa would not get up because she was tired, but Rosa said she was only tired of giving in. Rosa's trial was on December 5th. That day, many African Americans in Montgomery showed they were on Rosa's side. They would not ride the bus. This is called a boycott. Many African Americans watched as Rosa went inside to her trial. Rosa did not win at the trial, but she did not give up. Neither did other African Americans. Almost all of them stayed off the buses. They found other ways to travel. The boycott lasted 381 days. When African Americans stopped riding the bus company lost a lot of money. At last, the Supreme Court made a decision. It said that all people who rode the bus had the right to sit where they wanted. When the law was changed, Rosa was photographed riding in the front of the bus. Her story made news around the world. But Rosa's work was far from over. She spoke to people all over the country. She went on marches for civil rights. Finally, in 1964, a new law was passed. It said that all people had to be treated equally. Rosa joined the March on Washington in 1963. It was the biggest civil rights march in history. Rosa Parks received many awards for her courage and her work. She was given our country's Gold Medal of Honor. But her greatest reward was the gift of freedom that she helped give to all people. A street in Montgomery was later named Rosa Parks Boulevard. This was the street where Rosa had ridden the bus. And this timeline shows some important events in Rosa Parks' life. So in 1913, Rosa was born. In 1932, Rosa marries Raymond Parks. In 1955, Rosa is arrested for not giving up her bus seat. The bus boycott begins. In 1956, the Supreme Court decides that segregation on buses is wrong. In 1963, Rosa goes to the March on Washington. And remember, yesterday we learned that that was where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous speech. In 1964, a new law is passed that says all people must be treated equally. In 1999, Rosa wins the Gold Medal of Honor. In 2005, Rosa Parks dies. So Rosa lived a very long life, and she made a big impact on the civil rights movement. And also, Martin Luther King Jr. Worked with her on the bus boycott. So they worked together on this. And I want you to think about Rosa Parks and then think back to Harriet Tubman. We are going to do an assignment where we're going to compare and contrast the two women, and we will find things that are alike and things that are different, and we're going to find. Anyway, so we're going to study both of them, and that's one assignment. And another assignment is you are going to do a Rosa Parks timeline. So I will see you later.